Israel gives the go-ahead for 20 trucks to cross into Gaza to deliver precious humanitarian aid this week.
Europe steps up security as the Israel-Hamas conflict triggers a rise in bomb threats and anti-Semitic offences.
Trucks stuck at the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt are to be allowed to deliver their precious cargo of humanitarian aid. Israel has given the go-ahead for 20 trucks carrying food, water and medicine to pass this week. It comes as US President Joe Biden left after his visit to Israel. Egypt's leader sanctioned the move after a Biden call from Air Force One. Biden's mission had been to prevent a wider escalation of the conflict in the region, but key leaders cancelled a summit, and in the end it was only Israeli politicians he met.
Israel agreed humanitarian assistance can begin to move from Egypt to Gaza. Let me be clear, if Hamas diverts or steals the assistance, they will have demonstrated once again that they have no concern for the welfare of the Palestinian people.
According to officials, the death toll has risen to 471 after the Al-Hali hospital blast. The bloody explosion set Biden's diplomatic intentions. The US president has accepted Israel's strong denial of any involvement in the tragedy. It claims it was caused by a misfired Palestinian militant rocket. Hamas and much of the Arab world blames Israel for the blast. Huge anti-Israel protests continue in the Middle East. The blast at the hospital has heightened anger already boiling over at Israel's bombardment and blockade of Gaza. The death toll in the Palestinian enclave has risen above 3,000, but some families of those taken hostage by Hamas are furious at the report of aid allowed into Gaza. The blast at Al-Hali Arab Hospital in Gaza and the hundreds killed have caused a shockwave in public opinion in the region. Words such as massacre and devastation are often used, but who was to blame? Euronews went to assess reactions in the Jewish and Arab communities in Jerusalem. Talia has lost family members in last week's Hamas attack. She blames the militants for starting this wave of violence, but not all Palestinians.
I like Arab. I don't have something with Arab. I work with Arab. We are joking. We have everything is good. Why to be like this? Why?
The presence of the military has become more common as Israel's call-up of reservists continues. Yosef often demonstrates against the government alongside Palestinian peace activists. He says Hamas must be destroyed for any hope of peace and says militants in Gaza are responsible for the tragic explosion.
It's definitely not our bomb. It was accident from the jihad. And yes, today we showed it to the whole world that it's not our bomb. They put human being as a protect for them. And they don't care.
Among the Arab communities in East Jerusalem, most people were reluctant to appear on camera, fearing harassment from the police from what they could say. But one man did agree to give his opinion anonymously.
You could easily tell Israelis and Americans are right behind. They're not interested in Gaza anymore and its people.
Another local had his own thoughts he wanted to pass on.
I want to send message for all over the world. Pray for God. صلوا لله. صلوا لله عشان ينجينا ويحمينا ويحمي أولادكم ويحمي أبنائكم. دخيل الله صلوا لله.
Everybody here is in shock. Now they feel this is a new escalation in the conflict, and more than ever, people fear that this could turn into a regional conflict. We're yet to see what's going to happen in the north of Israel, near the border with Lebanon. I'm Valerie Goria in Jerusalem for Euronews.
Following the Gaza hospital blast, angry protests have flared up across the Middle East and elsewhere in solidarity with Palestinians. In Jordan, thousands of people blaming the strike on Israel gathered outside the Israeli embassy in Amman. In Lebanon, police used water cannons and tear gas to disperse protesters near the US embassy in Beirut. In the West Bank, dozens of Palestinians clashed with Israeli soldiers in Hebron, and 2 Palestinian teenagers were shot dead by Israeli forces during protests in Ramallah. Israel's Defense Force says it's looking into the incident. Protesters also took to the streets of other towns in the area, including Nablus. In Egypt, thousands rallied in Cairo, Alexandria and other cities, calling on the country to cut ties with Israel. On Tuesday evening, there was a large demonstration in Baghdad's Tahrir Square. Iraqi forces prevented protesters from crossing a bridge to the green zone where US forces are stationed. In the Tunisian capital, thousands of people gathered outside France's embassy, calling for the dismissal of the French and US ambassadors. And in Istanbul and Ankara, crowds clashed with police outside the Israeli consulate and embassy. Turkey plans 3 days of national mourning. In Iran, the French and British embassies were pelted with eggs by protesters who also burnt Israeli flags. And in New York, police drew a line between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli supporters facing off against one another in Washington Square Park.
The Israel-Hamas conflict is stoking fear across Europe. On Wednesday, French authorities evacuated 7 airports after receiving emailed bomb threats. Regional airports, including Toulouse and Lyon, closed temporarily. It comes just days after a teacher was stabbed to death in northeastern France in what the government called a terrorist attack. In Germany, police have made dozens of arrests for anti-Semitic offences after the Hamas attack in Israel nearly 2 weeks ago. On Tuesday, 2 men threw Molotov cocktails at a synagogue in Berlin. Police are still looking for the offenders. Chancellor Olaf Scholz has denounced the attack.
There were 2 Molotov cocktails thrown on the building at around 4 o'clock in the morning. So nothing happened. The bottles apparently didn't reach the building. They fell on the street.
A rise in anti-Israel sentiment has prompted governments in Italy, Germany, Belgium and France to increase security, particularly around synagogues and Jewish schools. There's also been an increase in false threats, leading to the evacuation of public spaces.
Rescue workers accessing damaged buildings in Zaporizhia. The area was hit by Russian missile strikes overnight. At least 3 people were killed in the attack, but rescuers say more may still be under the rubble. Russia targets towns in Ukraine every night, often located far from the front line. But Moscow denies causing civilian casualties. On Wednesday, the Russian Defense Ministry released footage it says shows its drone operators neutralizing Ukrainian troops near a village in the Zaporizhia region. Further south, in the region of Kherson, there were reports of massive shelling on Tuesday, with at least 3 people wounded. Kyiv says an area near the university was hit, damaging buildings and roads.
This is a train station where Jewish people were first deported by the Nazis. Now a place for people across German society to gather and remember. Yesterday was the 82nd anniversary of the beginning of deportations in Berlin. The loss of life now made more poignant this year after the Israel-Hamas war. A minute of silence was held for victims during the ceremony. Konrad Kutz was one of the attendees. He created this memorial next to the station, a collection of books about the Holocaust. It was destroyed by a suspected arson attack in August. Kutz says the station has attracted Jewish people wanting to learn more about their family history.
They come from Israel, they come from USA, they wanted to see this place where their grandparents, for instance, were deported into Auschwitz or other regions.
Across the city, a group of activists cleaned memorials marking where Jewish people who were deported and killed by the Nazis had lived. These are known as Stolpersteine, or stumbling blocks. They were laid down first in Germany. Now they can be found across Europe. The stumbling block started as an art project in the 1990s. The hope was that names of Jewish people who were taken away were not forgotten. Today, the blocks mark the names of other victims of the Nazis, such as members of the LGBT community. One of the organizers says remembering this history is important in Germany and other European countries because of the rise of the far right.
Und wir müssen immer wieder daran denken, wie das geschehen ist, warum es geschehen ist, und wir müssen sagen, nie wieder. Und für ein Nie wieder stehen wir, und deswegen machen wir das, damit auch die Leute rumrum alle mitbekommen, aha, wir müssen alle aufpassen auf unsere Demokratie. Und das müssen wir.
Back at the train station, Kutz says he hopes the fire at his library memorial will be a lesson for the next generation.
And also this burned down library, and it is not forgotten. You are not allowed to forget this. And it has happened today too, once more.
More than 400 animals, mainly cats and dogs, have been rescued from an illegal trading network operating in Spain. They were found in unsanitary conditions. At least 33 of the animals were sick. Some have since died from the mistreatment. 13 people have been arrested. The trafficking ring was active in Barcelona, Madrid, Andorra, and Eastern Europe. The authorities suspect the gang forged documents to misrepresent sick animals as being healthy when they were sold. The suspects face charges of animal abuse, fraud, document forgery, and money laundering. A new animal welfare law, which took effect in Spain in September, bans the buying of pets in stores or online. Trafficking can pose risks to public health, as illegally bred pets are often not vaccinated and can spread rabies, parasites, and infectious diseases to humans and livestock.